Hey, welcome. It's Friday. And it is not just any Friday, it's September 11th. It's 911. It is a Friday that we are going to be sharing together and remembering because we will never forget. This is the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. I'm Vickie Helm, and this is the Coffee Break Show. And on Fridays, you got to admit, I always have someone with me that everybody loves. Hey, Scott, nice to see you on board with me today. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you, Vickie. Good to see you.
I know it's been a long week already, hasn't it?
It and it was a short week too. We had
Yeah.
Labor Day up in the beginning, but we've packed so much in these back 4 days that it feels like it's been a very full week. There's no
Yeah,
shortage
it
of.
does. We've had so much there. So I want to say, if you're new here, we go live Monday through Friday. This is the Coffee Break Show. And we share tips, tools, techniques. We share inspiration, motivation. We have conversations that matter and help create thrivability in your life. And if you're new here, put your name down below. We'd like to meet you and get to know you. And if you're one of our fans that are on every single day with us, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing us the love.
That's
Thank
right.
you for just being with us in this way. I want to say that somebody is signed in as me saying good memorable morning. I'm not sure who that is, but I'm talking
Spoof.
to myself. It's a good memorable morning. Thank
I
you.
was, I was wondering how you're doing that because I cannot comment in this
I
in
know.
this
I
through this vehicle.
Oh, I can do this now, but I'm sure I didn't do that. That means that one of the people who work with us, who signed in as me to do a project, evidently
Yes.
forgot to sign out as that way. I
Yes.
just want to say thank you for coming in. And if you are watching this on the afterwards, do me a favor, put hashtag replay down below, hashtag replay. We're so glad that you've joined us. So everyone knows, Scott,
Mhm.
everyone knows where they were when 9/11 happened. Where were you?
Getting out of bed.
What?
Well, it was still Mountain Time Zone, and I worked nights, well,
Hmm.
evenings. And the first plane had struck. My partner was getting up to go to work, and he came back in and said, "You need to get up and see this." And then that was in between the two different planes, and from there on, it changed. And I have to be honest with you, it really changed how I viewed a lot of things. That event was a big wake up call. Big wake up call. I was not really into conspiracies. I was interested, but I wasn't into them. And 9/11 cemented my interest in them.
Yeah,
So,
that did. I
it
mean,
just
it
did.
was. Yeah.
It did. I became a hound after that point. I was a bloodhound. I wanted to figure things out. I wanted to read things, and for better or for worse, it opened my eyes to a lot of other potentials out there. I don't know if that's what they wanted to accomplish with that event, but they woke a lot of people up. They really did.
Yeah, it did. I want to stay with this. Good morning, Ryan. It's nice to have you on. Nice to see you here. And Jane, good morning. Nice to see you here as well. I want to talk about 9/11. I was living in London in the UK when 9/11 happened, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember the very day of it, and I remember the shock and the horror I felt. Still kind of brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
But there is one thing I do remember, and I remember that incident brought us together. We had courageous firemen who stepped out and did such heroic things. And I realize today our firemen are still doing the same thing out in California, trying to protect neighborhoods in Oregon and all of the fire areas there. And I realize that there's a position that is obviously not paid as much as it should be paid for heroes, for people who are courageous, who are EMS and firefighters that just go out there every single day. And a lot of them volunteers,
Yeah.
a lot of volunteer firefighters who just a lot of volunteer EMS who are just coming out from all over the world to help our situation. The same day as today, these courageous men on a different coast and women are working to help us be uh, together. I'm not sure who this is who thinks they're on the replay, but we're
Just
live
me.
right now, and I'm glad you're here. Type your name in. I'm not sure who this is. Just says Facebook user, glad to see that you're here.
Jeff Newman.
Jeff Newman. All
Jeff
right.
Newman.
Thank you. Never forget, buildings don't fall on their own. Footprint from firefighters. Yes. Buildings don't fall on their own. You got
and
that
when you
right.
talk about unity, that's exactly what they wanted to achieve with that event, so that they could get an agenda through a unified Congress and get the United States and the population, for better or for worse, behind that action. And that it's a blessing and a curse. It brought everyone together, but to what end?
Yeah.
And that's where, in 19 years of hindsight, that in some ways, as far as freedom was concerned, it was the beginning of an end.
Yes, the Patriot Act was tougher and things like that. We have TSA agents.
Yep.
And still, years after, it's been
Yeah.
over a decade, we still can't walk our loved one to the airport gate terminal, which I actually miss, because there was something about waiting for that plane to come in. And maybe you had a relative on there or somebody you loved on there waiting on that plane. The little kids that used to, Grandma, Grandpa, and run and hug them at the gate. That piece of quality of life has been missing. And you don't know how good a quality of life it is until it's gone. Yep. To the ability to hug and kiss your person as they went on the plane, or to hug and kiss and greet your person as they got off the plane. And the thing about it today, Scott, that still makes me think, it's like when you meet somebody at the plane, you're not getting on the plane. Right. I don't understand why we can't go all together. And it's this TSA, you can stop here. This is where you hug everybody and say goodbye. It's just BS.
And then the evil water bottle and the 3-ounce rule, the
3-ounce baby milk bottle. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And I find it reassuring that there are some municipalities or some cities, counties that are running these airports that want to be able to let TSA go and once again bring back in their own security details, because of the abuses that have been accompanying the TSA apparatus. And obviously, and as we've talked about, I don't want to say it's not necessary, but it's a structure that was put into place for fears that they thought would probably materialize or wouldn't materialize or haven't materialized until right now.
And this is the point.
Begin to see, this anticipating and the stoking of a civil war inside this nation. We've seen these green warriors who want to disrupt coal trains, these green warriors who want to derail petroleum shipments via rail cars to stop pipelines. And I thought the Homeland Security would be used initially for that kind of insurrection, if you will. But maybe TSA is going to be more relevant as we move into the, I want to say, weeks ahead. As obviously a discord has been fomented and sustained and funded inside this country. So maybe it has its purpose yet, even though we've had to endure 19 years of pat-downs.
Well, who knows? But I agree with this. Who is this? Tell me who this is.
Rights are never returned.
Rights taken, Ryan. Never returned. That's Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, that's why they take them.
Yes, that's the whole point.
Even
2030.
if those acts time out, that this is in effect for 5 years, for 10 years, the renewal seems to get easier with each passing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. There should be no way to renew these things. But then the other side of that is, if you time another one of these false flags just prior to the renewal of the event, then you may even get a more stringent one in place. Victims. Okay, Donnie.
Mm-hmm. I was taking my children to school listening to NPR. I had a deep, terrible, sinking feeling inside that they were announced the building fell. I knew people who worked in the tower. Fortunately, one decided to retire 2 weeks earlier. Some had not gone to work, and others made it out. I got to tell you, I did too. I had one of my dearest friends who worked in that building, in that downtown area, and he had a rare fight with his wife, and he was so upset that he had a fight with his wife. Instead of getting on the train, he turned around and came home because he wanted to make it right with his wife first before anything else. And that kept him alive that day. That kept him alive. She must have felt something that he didn't
Yep. And it's
and
interesting how that
kept him alive.
agitation can show up in us, and we spark those
Yep.
arguments without reason. But
Yeah.
it's that inner agitation that you can't contain. And
Yeah.
that creates the issue, it creates the fight, and that is the delay that saves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And just like the aging process, it's insidious. Rights taken and taken and taken. That's correct. And we see that happening right now. I mean, it's been happening since 1913.
Yeah.
Karen, good morning. Nice to see you on with us today. Hope you're staying. Let's see, Robin, it was so dreadful, but I was so grateful my brother didn't go to work that day, missed his train. I mean, talk about angels. Nope, you're not supposed to be there. You're supposed to be there. You're not supposed to be there. You're supposed to be there.
I
If
thought
you're
you were
not one
talking
of
about
the elite,
I thought you were talking about comments for a moment. I'm like, you're not supposed to be.
no, I'm sorry, I meant the universe. If you're not one of the elite that conspired and had advance notice, you were victimized.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Let's change the security in the building. Let's change the insurance policy in the building. Let's pre-wire it for this, that, and the other. Let's make sure there's this investigation going on at the Pentagon before that baby was hit. And the airlines. If the airlines could talk, if there were whistleblowers inside the airlines, that would blow this story open. Maybe one day. Maybe one
maybe.
day.
You never know. I was sitting in a classroom for health insurance. We all huddled around a tiny TV to watch it. Yeah, I remember that. Let's see. The one who retired early, her office was the first entry point. My ex-brother-in-law was the building across the street and saw the tower explode from his office. Later, he ran across the bridge, and his coworkers also showed up to his home. All were covered in white dust.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that has been.
And that wasn't healthy.
Yeah, it sure wasn't. Too many questions still unanswered. That's true. That's true. And today, while I understand that there can be conspiracy theories and things like that, I want to say one thing. It's no different right now. We're in this unanswered. We don't know who did this or whatever you believe. It could be a pandemic. It could be this or whatever. But we still got through 9/11. We still came together. We still had courageous people that stepped up and did something that was a positive action inside a really tumultuous moment, so tumultuous. And then there were people who were willing to listen and care for others in their trauma, because a lot of people just looked at it, and looking at something like that is extraordinarily traumatizing. And we had all of those things. And right now, we are in the middle of an event that wasn't a day. It was a period of time. We're going to start saying it as a, wow, remember 2020 when this happened, and this and this and this and this, and you'll see the domino effect of falling things, just falling, all the dominoes falling at their time in that moment. There were still people who stepped up. There's still people who are willing to go the extra mile inside of these things. And I know everybody wants to investigate it and see who's at fault, but we waste valuable time trying to find the blame or who to fault when we could be helping victims get out of the way of the tumultuousness,
Because we then honor the victims of the physical event, but then yet fail to realize that we all then become victimized because of the afterfacts of the event.
Yes.
That victimization is still happening today. We're still living in the shadow of those fallen towers, even though it's been rebuilt and there's a big old memorial and we'll do parades and memorials and all of that. We're still being victimized by that event this moment. The fact that it even has our attention right now means that they have owned us for this moment because of that event. And and it colored because it set the stage for the invasion of Afghanistan and then Iraq. And it was just this last 24 hours, a story where in the wake of 9/11, there are now 37 million people that have been displaced. They're out of their homes because of invasions and justifications for this, that, and the other across the Middle East. 37 million. That's a lot of people
It's
because
huge.
of this event.
Mhm.
And I'm a believer in cause and effect. And that effect is going to have to come back on those who caused it. So that's still an aspect of cause and effect of karma that has yet to be completely and entirely played out. So we have to anticipate that there'll be some
We may be
kind of a
alive to
blowback.
see that. We may
Yeah,
be alive to
undoubtedly,
see
I'm
it.
sure, because they'll want to close that event out so you
Sure.
don't carry it forward.
So here, Facebook user, I'm thinking it might be Ryan. I'm not sure.
About the
I was
UK,
at work when I heard the first plane hit and thought it was an accident and kept on
yep,
with my day until
yep.
the second plane hit. And I knew this was something that would change the world forever. The extent to which we could only realize in years to come, that's true. I mean, we're still feeling that cause right now. That's true. So Donnie says, the minute I saw them fall after seeing many professional demolitions, I knew.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the unknowing is unacceptable in today's environment. The
19 years later, we
unknowing.
should know.
Yeah.
And what I learned yesterday in kind of the research for my other show was that you don't begin an investigation unless you know the outcome ahead of time. And this is one of the reasons why there have been so few and so shallow investigations into 9/11, because you don't have to dig too far below the surface to begin to realize it's just a pile of worms, and it's just a mess. And there, being in Idaho, I was on the air at the time. There was a Dr. Stephen Jones, I believe is his name, from BYU University. He was a physicist, and his research was into the energy in the explosion of the aircraft versus the buildings which were built to withstand exactly that kind of an attack. And he came out, and I believe he lost his professorship from BYU for stating the truth, for even doing this line of inquiry. And that, for me, tells you that he was over the target. He's over the target because that's when you get the flack. They're like, you get away from me. That's when flack shows up, is when you're right.
Yes. And I love this, especially the question everything part. Exactly. Not sure we'll ever know the truth, but the documentaries are fascinating. Question everything. Yes. How about UK announcing the fall of Building 7 before it fell?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Good old BBC. I've got a playbook right here, and it's laminated, so if I get dust on it, I can just wipe it off and keep reading. Who was late, or were they early in that announcement?
I like this right here because I think it's true. Ryan, there was a beautiful unity after 9/11. It is almost gone. And, that begs to question, if you had the playbook in front of you, would you say, okay, all the people need to be united now, so we'll unite them. All the people need to be separated and in disunity right now. Let's make that havoc happen, whether it's happy havoc or not. I mean, the propaganda producers and, most people, especially people, yeah, like this. Yes, preach it, Scott. Yes, right. You go, my friend. Say it, brother. Okay, yes. And how many times do we see news reports of tragic events that haven't quite happened yet? Yeah, there's a couple of times that's happened.
Yeah,
So here,
what's coming? It's interesting when news organizations, the one that comes immediately flashed to mind was Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and they've got her death announcement. Her slide is up there, from like 1928 to 2019. It's like, oh, something's coming up soon, or even election results in Chiron, presented ahead of time. It's just a play. It's a play, and it's already got the end written. We make you think that it's happening in real time when it's just this massive staged production.
No coincidence. Thank God for those who coincidentally were home that day. Yes, thank you. Love that. Oh, Robin, how frightening and a blessing. That is true. So, Robin, right here, yes. And how many times do we see bad news reports that haven't happened yet?
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Looking up here, this Facebook user, that's what bothers me so much, is being punished for sharing the truth. It's a world that, yes, operates on illusion and untruths, and anything of integrity and truth is condemned. Yes, look what Edward Snowden has done.
Yeah.
Look what he's done. And you're a whistleblower as well. Yeah, been there, done that. You know what it's like. I mean, they vilified the truth there. That is really a part that's hard.
Wait till the election happens.
Yeah. So I'm going to pop down here to Donnie. That 9/11 event was concentrated in one small area, though it had a global impact. This event is happening globally and chaos is everywhere. You got that right, my brother. This tsunami cannot be defined. It is massive. Timing is perfectly injecting chaos into a chaotic world. That's true. Karma's never ending and never ending wheel that keeps on spinning. You got that right.
Yep.
And that's the whole point. I mean, we can right now what's interesting is we've armed the people with tools since the internet came. And those tools, they're not always right. They're not always good. But the citizen journalist spread a lot of light onto events because as they happen, phones come out. And you see things on phones, and then they had to gather all those phones, et cetera, find all those phones. You can see instantly now. It's not just that we used to just be able to film and then upload. Now we can go live, and there's no messing with the data when it's live. When it's live, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or wherever it is, when you go live right there, you capture the real moment as it's happening. This is what's happening. And then there's no denying it. There's no hiding it. There's no propagandizing, no fake newsing it. It's right there. Now, a lot of it, unfortunately, gets confiscated or now is being taken off of if it's not kosher to what's happening is being taken off of. It still has a little bit of leadway, but it's important to know that we've armed ourselves with the ability to see or see something different. But there's also people who play with videos and make videos happen. Like there was that video where Beirut, Lebanon, when
Beirut blew, and then the missile.
Yeah, the guy who put the missile in it, there was no missile. Yeah. It was completely, utterly that. And it's so misleading when people do that. But I think no matter what we do, whether it's the media or the public media, both of them create fake news. Both of them, it's a citizen journalist doesn't mean you're moral or more obligated. There is still false news there and false news there. And there has to be, there's not really an easy way to discern. The citizen journalists who put it up there in raw video are most poignant because they put it on live right there so you can watch it with them. And that to me is the most powerful form of journalism.
To pull off a 9/11 today with all of the cameras that we have in our pocket, there would have been so many additional views of the towers, of the Pentagon, of that field in Pennsylvania, because we would have been hyper aware of of the situation. So we would have all been armed with the camera. Mm-hmm. Now, the video may have been posted for 30 minutes, maybe 30 hours, but eventually a lot of those videos would have been scrubbed, as we have learned which is happening with the social media giants today. They eventually scrub the offending or truthful telling pieces of data. So that's another war we're fighting in real time.
That's true. And the thing is, I think we need to stop trying to find the truth because I think that's a witch hunt. I think we need to go inward and be the truth. And I think the witch hunt would stop there. And I think there's a vast difference from that. And I know it's like, what would we get if we had the truth? So, and let's take a look at that right now, because right now, Bob Woodward really put that book out. I think he put it out at a specific time. It had, the president saying what he said about the coronavirus. Everyone knows what would have happened if he did say the truth. We can only speculate. I know most people would say, well, more lives would have been alive. Maybe that's true. Maybe not. We don't know. And it's like from those particular truths that we get, I see his intention. His intention, the president's intention, was not to cause a panic, even though we were pretty much in a panic because we were already at stores buying
Goodness.
godly amounts
Yeah.
of toilet paper.
Charmin.
Yeah, Charmin was the
Charmin, the
issue.
toilet paper math.
I may be hungry, but I'm always going to be able to wipe my butt.
I'll be clean.
So it's like
Well,
that.
and honestly, Vicki, the data we were looking at coming out of China was alarming.
Yeah,
It
it was
was
accurate.
straight up alarming. And he
Hmm.
was doing what he was doing, and we still had the other party going into Chinatown doing this and saying it wasn't bad at all. No worry about it. Don't be racial. Don't profile. None of this. Don't even wear a mask because then you'll freak people out. So we had this other image game that was happening as we were becoming aware of the situation. And now there's even papers out in hospital studies and traffic studies that it was probably in LA as soon as December. And it was circulating because they could look at those hospital records and see that there was already a healthy spike of people visiting ER rooms across LA County
See, and that
for
withhold was
respiratory issues.
dangerous. That
Yes.
withhold was dangerous. It was not okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole point, is like the truth is like there's the official narrative and then there's the truth.
Well, and we tend to deny something that is big that is coming at us. We like, that cannot happen. That cannot happen. And so we either dismiss, we project safety, and then once we recognize the situation, we finally find ourselves we can be emotionally honest. And that is a huge accomplishment, because once you're emotionally honest with the situation, then you can prepare yourself without being, or irrational about it. So we can apply that to today, where we've been able to delay the economic issues with Corona with a whole lot of money. We still have a lot of unemployed, but there's still the blowback of the ending of that stimulus coming. There's still the blowback of unemployment coming. There's still the blowback of all of these other systems which have taken a hit, whether it's food, whether it's jobs, whether it's transport out of China, whether it's trade. We have not been investing in the future. We've been protecting the past. And that is going to change very quickly.
Did you see
malinvestment.
That is it. Thank you. I want to talk to this guy right here, and I'm not sure who it is, who said, do you want a calm leader in crisis or one in panic? And there's a difference between a calm leader and a manipulative leader. I think both leaders, whether Democrat or Republican, would have been calm leaders. I just think that you don't get to that height in politics or whatever without you being somewhat calm. Yeah. But I think when you withhold the truth from the American people, you become a manipulative leader. Even if your intention is good, it's still manipulating the response. Had we said, a real leader would have said, we have this crisis. We're going to get through it. This is what we can do. This is how we can do it. This is how we can work together, etc. And I just think there's a difference between a calm leader and I think a manipulative leader. And I have not seen in the history of my age any president not be calm.
And neither of these two are terribly inspirational. and if you could recognize, and you're briefed by your Security Council, by the State Department, by Defense Intelligence, by CIA, who had assets on the ground, but they lost most of them in a data leak, you would have been more aware of the situation in China. And the best thing to do is just be honest with the people. And it may be shocking at first, but if you're on there every single day talking about this, you can work them through the situation. You can talk them through what is coming and how to respond, how we as a nation then need to recognize the dependencies we have on that nation. And then it truly becomes an evolving discussion and a developing trust between the leader, the leadership, the nation's government, and its citizens. It can be done, but it can only be done when you're truthful with people. And even if that truth is a bit scary, they're big people. We're grown-ups. We can handle it. And that is the failure in leadership that I see, and neither side has stepped up to that. One, because, just neither are very good communicators. They can't compose complete sentences, let alone paragraphs, either of them. And that is a huge, what's the term in golf? Handicap that they've presented us.
To me, the whole thing that is a shining blight for me is that when you don't tell the truth, you hinder human ingenuity. And I got to tell you, there's something about the American spirit, and I think the spirit of the world, but I was raised in America, and here's what I know. When times get chaotic and times get crazy, Americans step up. And if we, as a populace, are given a challenge, we step up. So just recently, we had a victory garden time in World War II, where we took everybody stepped up in World War II. That's the nature of the American spirit. And when we mislead or manipulate data or we don't come out with the truth, we lose human potential to make something better, greater, or stronger. And that fear of having people panic, yes, some people will panic. It's true. But some won't. Some are going to step up. Some are going to make it a better, stronger, better widget, a better way through. And then what people have is they know exactly what they need to support. Support your local farmer. Buy Made in America. You know what it is that your country is requiring of you, and you don't let those people who are the problem solvers solve the problem after the can is kicked down the road.
Yep.
Now, I've seen this with a couple of presidencies, because when 2008 happened, I think we should have let her rip and we would have crashed, but we would have been 10 years now into a rebuild.
Yep.
But instead, we QE'd our way down, and we're still QEing our way down, instead of allowing the ingenious of what's here, these people that are that are entrepreneurs, that are scientists, that are things that are fixed things. They'll do it. You don't even have to ask them, would you do this for us? They just go out and do it. That's a human spirit.
Yep.
And when we lie to the people, we take away potential. We lose potential. And that is our greatest loss.
Yep. And that for me is the failure of so many governments right now. So we don't understand the situation, whether it's economically, whether it's health wise, whether it's environment, whether it's the risks from space. And all of these are substantial threats to the well-being of this planet and humanity. It's just, be honest. There's so much power in being honest with the people, because then there's an inspiration, because they know you're telling the truth, and then they recognize the situation they're in, and then their creative juices can flow. Their entrepreneurship shows up. They come up with the solutions to help themselves through the problem. And that, to me, is the failure, the loss of it. And going back to the economic collapse back in 08 and 09, I'm glad it didn't happen then, because we didn't have the solutions. All we would have had is gold and silver, and the elite own the gold and silver. They own the mines, they've got the stocks, and they would have just used that to maintain their position of power. Now we have Bitcoin. Now we have digital currencies. Now we have a way to leave their unnecessary control and unnecessary banking and unnecessary usury interest profile and business practices behind. They have owned the banking since the 1300s. It's time to end that part of the system. And I think that's what both the left and the right want to have happen. What Antifa protests against with fascism and capitalism, it's the banking system that needs to break. But it's interesting because it's the banking system that is supporting that aspect of the protest. And the MAGA people, the same thing. They want freedom to innovate. They want freedom to worship. They want those same freedoms, but just in a different flavor that the left wants. So we want the same things, and that's what a truthful leader will bring to the table, rather than one that is divided by color and ideology, rather than uniting the people. And it can be done. It can be done, Vickie.
Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. I think that humanity has all kinds of inspirations that are going to be unfolding. Karen says, I understand the question and the hypothesis, but some people forget that people died and the families are still impacted. Yes, no matter what, no matter where, that is the greatest thing. And I think, Karen, it's like we can offer as much support, both emotionally, that we can, so that their lives can move on, and maybe continue having some happiness, and that is a big trauma to go through, big trauma. I know that there are families that have lost parents, either mom or dad, early to illnesses or heart attacks or whatever, and they're suddenly gone or suddenly out of their life. That's still painful. Either way that happens. But I know that a heart can be rebuilt. I mean, the heart that is broken can be rebuilt. It can become something that is stronger and more loving and kind. That heart can be rebuilt. And at that point, I have to trust the divine's wish. The divine put that person there.
All you have to do is inspire it. And then when you show it a way forward, it can let go of the past. And we're so obsessed with, well, right now, casting a stone across time to blame people for what they did, what was normal 400 years ago, and how we change doesn't happen without something breaking. And all of these traumatic events, false flags, natural events, whatever, will in time will have served their purpose in getting humanity to see the true situation, the true chains that bind us. And if there are casualties along the way, the three things, if you will, are guaranteed in life is birth, taxes, and death.
Yeah,
we're all going to go through it.
We're all going to have that.
Yeah, that day is written in each of our lives. When we're born, the day that we die is set. That's just a given. It's in stone. And when you're dead, it's in your headstone. It's in stone once again. It's just now that everybody can see it. So there are consequences and costs to pay. And there are larger events that are looming just ahead. We'll look at 9/11 and then maybe the totality of the fatalities, Karen, that it was a very small one to those big things that still arrive on the horizon. There are big, big events as we continue to wake up and realize that we don't have to be and don't have to live the way we have lived. And when we can change the money system of this planet, that's when our freedom will be once again ours. We can dictate what our minimum wage should be, what industries and what economies, how we want to interact and be rewarded and reward others for their work through that. So that for me is the truly, truly exciting point, that every birth is painful, a little bloody, but there are tears and joy on the other side of it. And we have to be willing to go through that to get to the joy on the other side.
All the women are saying, easy for you to say, but I totally key that point. I want to talk about this. The problem is the problem solvers are those who created the problem. Yeah. Problem, reaction, solution. I don't agree with that. I think there's some people out there that create problems, but there are also out there, and I know tons of them, entrepreneurs who are putting their blood, sweat, and tears on the line to make things right and good for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think if we only concentrate on these people, we'll vilify all the do-gooders as well. I think there's always kind of that 50-50 balance. I think there are people who make problems? Yes. Who are greedy, who want to do harm to people? Yes. I don't concentrate on them. I don't spend my money over there. If I want to put him out of business, I don't shop there. I shop at the conscious business owners where people are creating these amazing new future. I mean, somebody invented and spent a lot of time creating Bitcoin, and he didn't do it because he wanted to be a problem maker. He wanted to be a problem solver. Now, here's the thing. I think we grow out of stuff too. So for instance, when Henry Ford made the car, I don't think he thought the highways were ever going to be this congested, or that we're going to have these insurance and this the CO2 and all the other stuff and polluted skies. He didn't see that.
Or there'd be so much roadkill.
Yeah. He thought, I'm going to make this, and it's going to replace the horse, and these poor horses won't be used as beasts of burden anymore. And so what he did was solve that problem of that time. But as we evolve, it's our job to solve that problem, not blame him. And well, if he didn't invent the car, then we wouldn't have this and this and this and this and all these problems would be gone. We evolve. That's what we do.
You'd be on a horse or a bike.
And I'm thankful for the problem solvers. And by the way, I'd like to see myself as one of those problem solvers. And when I look at humanity, the only thing I want to do is say, how do I lift all boats all at once? How does this project make things better? And it's that Oprah mentality where she was in an office board with a bunch of people who were trying to pitch her on a show tip and how much money they were going to make and how much it was going to do for them and how they were going to sell it. And she said, that's great. I see where the money is, but you could tell me what does this do for my audience? How do they benefit? And the second they couldn't answer that, she says oftentimes they kind of shuffle papers and they don't know what to do or what to say. And she doesn't, once she asks that, she shuts up and lets them squirm in that.
Yep.
So we lose human potential when we don't have the truth. And those problem solvers that do the good in the world, those are the ones I support. That's where I spend my money. That's where I place my attention. And the choice comes down to the individual. You get to choose where you're putting your money.
Yeah, you do. And that is our choice. Every day, every week when we spend money, which brands do you buy? Which stores do you patronize?
What do you invest in?
What do you do? Yeah.
And so it's like I'm heavily invested in cryptocurrencies because that is the future to me. Yep. But more than that, I see the freedom of it. I see the elimination of it. I think blockchain, and I'm like investing in blockchain. Why? Because for me, that's the tool that is going to get to the point where we have the least corruption. Yeah. It's going to unearth all sorts. It's so much corruption is going to die with the invention the infusion of blockchain.
Yeah, once it's adopted. And these kind of wholesale changes don't just come about. There's an organic aspect to it, but then there's also a crisis to it. It's like the patient has a low pulse rate, but then an event comes, and then there's little cardiac paddles go on, and boom, it's brought to life. And it's aware of the situation, and that all of the central banks, not all at once, but very, very quickly in succession, will begin to adopt and invest in and participate with Bitcoin. It's interesting.
They're doing it right now.
I had a dream like four nights ago, and I was sitting next to this financial advisor, and he was going through investments, and there was Bitcoin right there, and he said, "This is now one of our strong buy recommendations." So there's something coming where we're going to need an asset that appreciates. And if oh my goodness, the poor people that own Tesla and own Netflix and that own Apple, if I could give you a hug now, because you're going to need it soon. It's just time to move. Because one of those platforms, the Robinhoods and the TD Ameritrades and all of these platforms, when you end up in crisis days, if you will, when the volume goes to 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times normal, those platforms are almost inoperable. And then you're unable to execute a trade in a timely fashion to CYA. And if you can't CYA on those days, then you realize that I should have done it yesterday. Mm-hmm. And it's time to act like I should have done it yesterday, because October's coming.
Yeah. If you haven't invested, you might want to think about that. And I told you get the choice of what reality you want to invest in now. There's this stock market reality, which is being propped up by a lot of quantitative easing. Everybody knows that. If it has to be propped up, is it real? Yeah. And there's this that's growing without being propped up at all.
Yeah.
Think about that.
And it's growing despite the active efforts of banks. I had a friend in Puerto Rico who the bank that he has used for years closed his account because he had bought Bitcoin using that bank. And he was stunned, just stunned. So there is an active suppression. And once it becomes desperation rather than separation to get into these markets, then we'll find their true value. And when there's only so many seats and you're paying a game of musical chairs, it's best to find your seat now.
I like this right here. What can you do for yourself and those that surround you to lead the way? Thank you. That is the most, That to me is courage and faith. And Donnie, this is something that I've seen you do a bajillion times. What can you do for yourself and those that surround you to lead the way? I are the solution to everything is a test. Can you find the middle road? Yes, that middle road is here's the right and here's the left, and here's what we both agree on. And I bet there's more that we agree on, just like Scott said earlier, than separates us. And I think the great lie is that we think there are two sides. There's not two sides, there's humanity. And what we believe on and what we can do and what we can help and how we can help each other is better than anything else that we can do.
If
I just want to say good morning to MJ because she jumped on and she's one of our favorite peeps. Nice to see you. How are you?
Can you
Glad
imagine
you're with us.
If the president can call a banking holiday and close down the banks for as FDR for 7 days, what if they could shut down the media for 7 days?
Yeah, what would happen if they shut down the media for 7 days?
What would happen? Would there be some sanity? Would people get a timeout? And there's a KGB study. This was in the 60s, in how long it takes when a person or an organism is bombarded by negative messages, how long before they're fully programmed. And it's about 60 days when they accept the barrage of messages, and then they just give up because they've lost the will to fight it. And the media has done this since I've been born. They've been programming us and telling us, and that's why shows are simply called programs. Here's the program.
That's right. They're a program.
Yeah, we're programmed. It would be fascinating if you could just literally turn the media off, unplug it give us a month
and
to
deprogram,
regain our sanity.
Yeah. Interesting. That would be an interesting test.
It would. And it's probably one worthy of attempting, considering if we really look back at who's running them. Yeah.
We'd have to unplug for ourselves. Facebook user, I don't know who this is. I feel like we're going through a rebirth right now. I'm with you on that, sister or brother, whoever you are. I agree with that. Donnie says, this really is about swimming, isn't it? We can choose to swim instead of sinking. We can take action locally. We can uplift those around us. We not, Vickie Helm and Scott Stevens. That's right. When we decide to take control and take action, we can change everything. I got to tell you, that's so true. And honestly, we've had dinner together where we all four have spoken to each other about what we could do. And we've actually done it. We actually did so much this year. It blew me away. And I'm so proud of my Metadime team and my friends. I love you so much. It's amazing what we've done to help. And we're going to continue that. A truthful leader, not panicked, but strategically led through the challenge. Yes, that is somebody we would like. The problem solver's comment was in the context of 9/11 to obtain the response that created the foundation of their agenda. Now I see what you're talking about. Thank you for that clarity. That helped me understand. I see what you're saying right now. Yes, the problem solvers then did create the problem. You're absolutely right. I stand corrected. My bad. Thank you for being willing to put yourself out there and say it again so that we understood you differently. I want to pop this over here. It certainly has been an opportunity to observe and determine our new paths. And just as in birth, it can be painful, messy, but looking forward to that beautiful next step. Yep. There's so much that's going to be happening that's going to be so grand in the future.
And if there isn't a leader to take you through those experiences, then what's on the other side? Is it chaos? Is it a preset agenda? And that is the beauty in many ways of chaos. Is because that other side is trying to hold on to the direction, trying to understand what's happening. Yeah. And versus you'll do this, then this, and this, and this, and that leads us to this kingdom. And that is the beauty of chaos. It affords humanity an opportunity to reclaim the crown.
It so does. This is where we are. We are having a quiet, kind of disruptive evolution. Robin Helm, spot on. We teach our students to observe, interpret, and respond. Yes, that is a beautiful thing. Every issue creates some level of polarization, but some blow the roof off. And we're kind of there right now. We have some issues with that.
That's sanity.
What? They close his account? That's crazy. Yeah, they closed his account for that purchase. I know that's a sign of what they're rebelling against, although they are using the blockchain technologies. Ross, I agree with you. Hey, Ross, yay. I agree with you. When lives are irrelevant and become stats, China. Yeah, that's right. That is very, very hard to do. Ross, was that you that I just was up there with? You know,
I believe so.
yeah, probably. What excellent skills to learn. I would have appreciated learning that earlier in life. I would agree. Facebook user, this may be Ross. Karen, it's a thin veil that separates China from the US. You got that right. I agree with that. A very thin veil. Many of their policies are beginning to be implemented.
Well, and there's such a technological and let's just say intellectual property sharing between the two countries. And there is
Or
a power
Steve.
structure inside the United States that is in every country that like to see it deployed in China, to see how then we can use that dragnet of intelligence across China and deploy it in the U.S. The U.S. is probably less than 10 years behind China, but we've had this disruptor come in and throw some of these Chinese companies and their spies inside universities, inside NASA, inside aerospace companies. All of this innovativeness has been just stolen and then redeployed out there, and
That's right.
ultimately, if it isn't halted, used against us, and then we become a vassal state.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah, that's what's
That's
yeah,
that's
that's how
it.
close it was.
That's how the veil is. And I feel like there's something else in the universe saying, well, we're going to steer this ship in a different direction
That's
right
right.
now. And I quite like that. Scott, what you said about programming is truth. A group of tech addicted youth was sent to a camp with no tech. There was a withdrawal period, then their brainwaves actually changed. What does that say about programming? I know this to be true for myself. I know this to be something that we have to look at in the future if we want to have mental health. Chaos, what an interesting perspective, Scott. I like that too.
Yeah, it's the beauty. It's the beauty and the opportunity of chaos, and both sides use it. Both sides use it. That's just how it. That's how it's deployed, and that for me is probably what will greatly define the next 6 months. Is an aspect of chaos. Is I don't think the other side can allow this election go uncontested, because if they were to be out of power for an additional 4 years, they would even lose what remaining threads of power that they have, and so it's an all-out war. It's an all-out war.
I'm wondering about that. I have to see that to believe it.
Yeah,
I think for right now, because the I think this is probably one of the most important elections we've ever had
Indeed.
in our history, and it's not because of the two people running. It's because the condition of the globe, the condition of the world is at a tipping point. It's not a country that's at a tipping point or a state that's at a tipping point. It's our entire world that is at a tipping point. And we are either going to let those that would love to enslave everyone win, or we are going to step up and we are going to create new, more empowering things. I believe that it's no coincidence that our cash flow is being sucked out, our food supplies have been broken, our materials and other things, supplies have been broken. I think it's interesting that there is so much chaos that we even have a coin shortage. Have we ever had a coin shortage? I don't think so. But it's all the cash flow, everything being maneuvered all at once. We had to destroy. We were forced to destroy milk that could have been given, chickens that could have been harvested, beef that could have been, harvested as well, because they were supposedly going to restaurants and they now had this overthing of food. And I think the inability for our farmers to sell it to the public, I was like that to me, all of those things, and our financial thing. I think the sucking of your cash flow came out in how much taxes you pay and how much debt you have to use, because here's your paycheck and here's the month. And so everything else is on that debt thing that you're doing because you're not making a living wage, whatever that living wage is. I think all of it is being retooled and it's up in our face. We are not happy with the way things are. And some of the responsibility is yours. Some of it's yours, the individual's responsibility. And some of it is this cabal here, because there's something very interesting that Robert Kiyosaki said. They want to keep you poor. They want to keep you poor. And that means if you don't want to be poor, you have to do something different. You can't use this system, which was designed to keep you poor. You have to go use this system, which was designed to make you wealthy. Yep. And that choice is yours.
Yep. And the one thing that we cannot let them take is simply your will to survive. Your willingness to just get up in the day without getting into a depressive state, because this is just too much to handle. And there will be an aspect of being overwhelmed with so many things happening all at once. And undoubtedly, there are people that have been pushed into a corner where without employment, without cash in the bank, without security, that they don't know what to do. And then that's when they surrender to the promise of security rather than opportunity, liberty, or a way through this. And that, for me, is one of the forks in the road that we talked about on another perspective last Wednesday, is what happens when that fork in the road arrives. And it won't arrive for all of us at once. It'll arrive for us individually.
In waves.
This is an individual journey that we're going through together. There's a difference.
That's a key point. That's like a bumper sticker right now. Lisa, I see this. I agree. All the things are pretty much planned. There's just zero reason to have a coin shortage. Yes, I get that. Me too. I agree with that. But I just want to go back and say this is a collective issue, but it's an individual issue problem. It's that if you want to be sustainable, Scott, I think that point that you just made was that's the real key. That's the real important piece of this. Hey, MJ finally chimed in. Sign of the times. We must regroup and transition to new beginnings. You got that right. The tools are presenting themselves. Blockchain tech is one of them. Yes, I agree with that. And it is that we have to embrace the learning curve. And I got to tell you, when I say embrace the learning curve, it's tough. It's not easy right now. It doesn't matter what country you're in. It is tough. It is not easy. But in America, at least there's still opportunity for you to dig in and go for it and grab it. It's the same in the UK. It's the same in Europe. There are still places in the world where you can make this happen for you. Is it easy? No. But nothing great is easy. It's not easy to become an Olympic athlete. It's not easy to become an NBA, NFL, or major baseball league player. None of those things are easy.
But chaos affords us those unique and individual opportunities to move through your own skills and your own gifts, something forward, to move your life forward, to create an opportunity for you. And that's what chaos provides us. And we're all different. We'll never be the same. And the same cookie cutter isn't appropriate for all of us. You know, you could use that same cookie cutter as you make a plan of cookies, but when they come out of the ovens, they're all unique in their own way. They're all snowflakes, but they're all different. And that's the beauty of this. And so chaos is a beautiful thing. And I suppose depending on if you're looking from the creation top down or the bottom up, it's either chaos or divine order. It's all about a perspective.
Yes, it is your perspective. I love the divine order perspective. The solid rule is, in order for chaos to cease to exist, a cataclysmic event must occur. When do we reach that critical mass? That's interesting, because that's kind of like, I love this premise right here, because it's like an alcoholic hitting bottom. Your bottom, your cataclysmic event, that's up to you, right? Yep. It's up to you. I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. And you're like, here it is. Let's do it. So what we look at in this coming future, and then I kind of want to end with this, is that there is a choice you have to make. And that choice is, whether you sink to the past and become a victim of that, or you swim to the future and enjoy the prosperity of that. That's where I want to leave you, because that's the choice you have.
Yep.
I know we could blame the government and blame this and blame that, but you live right now, most of you, in countries where you can overcome this. And this is what we are doing with this show every single day. Thank you for that. When do we reach critical mass?
That'll be a great day, because it'll happen. And I think that is something that we will recognize probably very quickly. It'll be some grand unifying event. And we'll all step back and look at the things that we raged against and realize that they had only served us to bring us to this unifying event. And then in that way, we can put it aside and then move forward. And I'm excited for that day. And that is part of what's ahead for the next 6 months. It is
this next 6 months. I don't mean to break your chain or anything else, but what you just said, that's the point. That's why we're doing this every Friday, every single day. We're on these shows doing this every single day. The next 6 months are the most critical to the next decade for you.
Yep.
So I look at this. I love this. Yes, many fractal, love that. Fractal parallels between individual and collective awakening.
It's exciting.
Stunning. Thank you very much for being with us. This was Friday. It wasn't as funny. It was very serious, but this is a serious day. It's 9/11. 9/11 is the day where you're going to either find your courage or sink into your fear. We will find our courage and continue this forward. And to all those people who are fighting the fires, all those people who were there in 9/11, all those EMS, all those soldiers out there working for humanity to make sure that we're safe or to help us not have so much loss. Thank you for your service in this world. Thank you for your service. Yeah. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you on Monday. Mwah! Peace out.